6 months had passed since the Zephyrian invasion began, and High Counselor Zarmoth was reading reports that made no sense to him. The conquest of Earth should have been completed within weeks like all the other worlds they had taken. Instead, his forces were losing ground to an enemy that should have been helpless against superior Zephyrian technology. Every day brought news of more casualties and failed operations. Commander Vexithara had never experienced anything like the war on Earth in his long military career. The humans had somehow learned to use captured Zephyrian equipment in ways that the original designers never intended. Worse, they were constantly adapting their tactics so that every time the aliens found a counter-strategy, the humans would try something completely different. It was like fighting an enemy that could change shape and become something new every day. Colonel Jennifer Martinez had been working around the clock to crack the alien communication codes. Her team of cryptographers and computer experts had finally succeeded in breaking into the Zephyrian tactical network. Now human resistance forces could listen to alien military radio traffic and know exactly what the enemy was planning. This intelligence advantage gave human forces the ability to stay one step ahead of alien response teams. The information that Jennifer's team gathered was immediately sent to field commanders like Major Paul Anderson. Paul was leading a mobile strike force that specialized in hit-and-run attacks against alien supply convoys. With advance warning of alien movements, his team could set up perfect ambushes and then disappear before reinforcements arrived. The aliens were losing supplies and equipment faster than they could replace them. Dr. Mary Jackson had made a discovery that terrified even her own team of scientists. She had been experimenting with captured Zephyrian power cores and found a way to modify them into incredibly destructive weapons. The modified power cores could be set to overload in a chain reaction that would destroy everything within several city blocks. It was dangerous knowledge, but it gave humans a way to fight alien installations that seemed impossible to attack. The first use of a modified power core bomb was against the alien command center in New York, the orbital station above. The city had seemed untouchable because it was protected by the strongest shields the Zephyrians had. But Mary's team found a way to smuggle a modified power core onto the station, disguised as regular alien equipment. When the bomb exploded, it destroyed the entire station and sent a message to aliens everywhere that humans could reach them anywhere. As the months passed, Zephyrian soldiers began showing signs of psychological stress that their commanders had never seen before. The alien military was trained to fight enemies that would either surrender quickly or fight in predictable ways. Humans did neither. They would retreat from hopeless battles only to attack again from unexpected directions using weapons and tactics. That should not have worked. The worst part for the Zephyrian soldiers was that they could never feel safe. Human resistance fighters could strike anywhere at any time using equipment that looked harmless, but was actually deadly. A simple radio could be turned into a jamming device that would disable alien armor. A construction vehicle could be modified to produce sound waves that would make aliens sick. Even children's toys had been turned into surveillance equipment that helped humans track alien movements. Commander Vexithara started having trouble sleeping because he was constantly worried about the next human attack. His medical officers reported that many soldiers were requesting transfers to other assignments rather than continue fighting on Earth. Some of his best warriors had developed a fear of humans that made them hesitate in combat. The psychological advantage was shifting to the humans despite their technological disadvantage. General Marcus Webb was coordinating resistance efforts from a hidden bunker in the Appalachian Mountains. He had divided human forces into small mobile units that could strike quickly and then vanish before the aliens could respond. Each unit was equipped with modified alien technology and trained to use unconventional tactics that confused enemy commanders. The strategy was working better than anyone had dared to hope. The aliens tried to adapt to human tactics but found it almost impossible. Every time they developed new procedures to counter human strategies, the resistance would abandon those methods and try something completely different. Zephyrian military doctrine was based on logical analysis and predictable responses, but humans seemed to operate on pure chaos and creativity. Lieutenant Mike Johnson's unit in the Australian outback had become experts at using the harsh environment as a weapon against the technology-dependent aliens. They would lead alien patrols into areas where the extreme heat would cause their equipment to malfunction. They used dust storms to blind alien sensors and sandstorms to ground alien aircraft. The aliens found that their advanced technology was often useless in Earth's challenging environments. Captain Laura Santos had achieved legendary status among resistance fighters for her success in the Amazon jungle. Her methods had been copied by resistance cells in forests and mountains around the world. The aliens discovered that any area with dense vegetation or difficult terrain became a nightmare for their forces. Human fighters who knew the land could make life miserable for alien occupiers who depended on their machines to do everything. The psychological impact on Zephyrian leadership was becoming severe. High Counselor Zarmoth faced pressure from other members of the Imperial Council who questioned why Earth had not been conquered yet. Some counselors suggested that the humans must have received help from another advanced alien race because they could not believe that such a primitive species could resist Zephyrian forces alone. Governor Kethvar found himself in an impossible position as more of Earth slipped out of alien control. His reports to the Imperial Council became increasingly desperate as he tried to explain how humans kept finding new ways to fight back. The governor had never encountered a species that seemed to become more dangerous the longer they were under attack instead of weaker and more demoralized. The final straw came when human forces launched coordinated attacks against 12 major alien bases on the same day. Each attack used different methods and weapons, but all were successful in either destroying the bases or forcing the aliens to abandon them. The coordination required for such an operation proved that the human resistance had evolved from scattered survivors into a sophisticated military organization. Dr. Angela Torres had been studying Zephyrian psychology and social structure, using information gathered from interrogated prisoners. What she discovered gave humans their most important advantage yet. The Zephyrian Empire was not as powerful as they claimed to be. They relied on quick victories and the reputation for invincibility to force enemies to surrender without fighting. Earth was the first world to survive their initial assault and mount effective resistance. This information changed everything about how humans viewed the war. They were not fighting an unstoppable galactic empire, but rather a civilization that depended on fear and intimidation to maintain control. If Earth could prove that Zephyrians could be defeated, it might inspire other conquered worlds to rebel. The stakes had become much larger than just the survival of humanity. The stars looked different that night when Captain Jake Morrison stared through the window of his small ship. He was doing his normal job, watching the space around Jupiter for anything strange. His ship was nothing special, just one of many that Earth sent out to keep watch. Jake had been doing this job for 3 years and nothing exciting ever happened. He liked it that way because boring meant safe. The radio made a soft noise and Jake reached over to check it. His friend Pete was calling from another ship nearby. They talked about normal things like what they would eat when they got back to Earth and how their families were doing. Jake missed his wife Carol and his 2 kids back home. Space was lonely, but someone had to do the watching job. Then everything changed in 1 second. The space in front of Jake's ship started to glow with a strange light. The light got bigger and brighter until Jake had to close his eyes. When he opened them again, he saw something that made his heart beat very fast. 3 huge ships appeared out of nowhere. They were bigger than anything Jake had ever seen. Each one was as long as a city, and they looked like they were made of crystal that glowed from inside. Jake grabbed his radio and called Pete, but got no answer. He tried calling Earth, but the radio just made static noise. The alien ships moved closer, and Jake could see they had weapons on them. Big weapons that looked like they could destroy his little ship with one shot. Jake's hands shook as he tried to start his engines to fly away. One of the alien ships sent out a beam of light that hit Jake's ship. Nothing happened to him, but all his controls stopped working. His ship could not move anymore. Jake felt scared, like he had never felt before. He was trapped and there was nothing he could do about it. The alien sent a message to his radio. The voice was strange and did not sound human at all. It spoke in perfect English, which made Jake feel even more scared. How did they know his language? The voice said they were from the Zephyrian Empire and they had come to take over Earth. They said humans had to give up or they would destroy everyone. Jake thought about his family back on Earth and felt sick to his stomach. These aliens were going to hurt the people he loved, and there was nothing he could do to stop them. His little ship with its weak weapons would not even scratch the paint on their huge ships. He felt helpless and angry at the same time. More human ships started showing up as the alarm was sent out across the solar system. Admiral Lisa Carter was in charge of all the Earth defense ships, and she came as fast as she could. Jake watched as 20 human ships surrounded the 3 alien ones. The human ships looked like toys next to the alien ones, but at least they were trying to fight. Admiral Carter sent a message to the aliens asking them to talk instead of fight. She told them that humans were peaceful and did not want war. The alien voice laughed and said humans were too weak to be worth talking to. They said they had taken over 17 other worlds and Earth would be easy. The fight started when one human ship fired its missiles at the closest alien ship. Jake watched the missiles hit the alien ship, but they did nothing at all. The alien ship did not even slow down. Then the aliens fired back and Jake saw something terrible. One shot from an alien weapon cut a human ship in half. The ship exploded in a ball of fire and everyone on it died. The battle was over in just a few minutes. The alien weapons destroyed 10 human ships without any trouble. The other human ships had to retreat, or they would all be destroyed too. Jake's ship was still trapped by the alien beam and he had to watch his friends die. He felt angry and sad and scared all at once. Admiral Carter sent a message to Earth telling them what happened. She said the aliens were too strong and that human weapons could not hurt them. The aliens gave Earth 3 days to surrender completely or they would destroy every city on the planet. Jake knew that Earth had no choice but to give up. President Ryan Blake called together all the world leaders to decide what to do. They met in a safe place underground and talked for hours. Some wanted to surrender right away to save lives. Others wanted to fight even though they would probably lose. Dr. Angela Torres was there too, and she studied the little information they had about the aliens. The aliens were stronger and smarter and had better technology than humans. They had never lost a war, and they did not think humans could fight back. Dr. Torres found out that the Zephyrians lived longer than humans and were much bigger and stronger. Their technology was thousands of years ahead of anything Earth had. But Dr. Torres also found something interesting in the alien messages. The Zephyrians talked about humans like they were animals. They did not understand that humans could think and plan and adapt. The aliens had always won by being stronger and having better weapons. They had never fought an enemy that could change and learn and survive. Jake's ship was finally freed when the aliens left to set up their attack on Earth. He flew back to the space station as fast as he could and told everyone what he had seen. The other pilots were scared but also angry. They wanted to fight back even if they could not win. Jake felt the same way. He would rather die fighting than live as a slave to aliens. The 3 days passed quickly and Earth had to make its choice. The aliens came back with more ships and waited for an answer. President Blake sent a message that said Earth would not surrender. The aliens were surprised because they expected humans to give up easily. They did not understand that humans had been fighting each other for thousands of years and knew how to be stubborn. The real war was about to begin, and both sides were ready. The aliens thought they would win easily, but they did not know what humans could do when they had nothing left to lose. Dr. Rachel Martinez had been working for 18 hours straight in the hidden laboratory beneath the Rocky Mountains. Her eyes hurt from staring at alien technology through microscopes, but she could not stop now. The damaged Zephyrian drone that Captain Tony Lewis had brought her was the key to everything. She had taken it apart so carefully that every piece was labeled and photographed before removal. What Rachel found inside the drone changed everything humans thought they knew about fighting the aliens. The Zephyrian technology was incredibly advanced, but it had a major weakness. All their weapons and equipment used the same type of energy frequency to communicate with each other. It was like they all spoke the same language, and if you could jam that language, they would become confused and stop working properly. Rachel called Tony over to look at her discovery. She showed him how the alien weapons had tiny computer chips that received signals from a central command unit. These signals told the weapons when to fire and how much power to use. If those signals were blocked or scrambled, the weapons would not know what to do. Tony understood immediately and started thinking about ways to build devices that could jam the alien frequency. Meanwhile, in the ruins of Denver, Sergeant Chris Thompson was leading a small team of soldiers on a dangerous mission. They had volunteered to test the first jamming device that Tony's team had built. The device looked like a large radio, but it was designed to send out signals that would confuse alien equipment. Chris and his team had hidden in a building near where a Zephyrian patrol would pass by later that day. The patrol consisted of 3 alien soldiers walking slowly through the empty streets. They were not worried about human resistance because their armor and weapons made them feel invincible. Chris waited until they were close enough and then activated the jamming device. At first nothing happened, and Chris thought the plan had failed. Then one of the aliens stumbled and his weapon started sparking with electricity. The other 2 aliens tried to help their companion, but their equipment was also starting to malfunction. Their armor became heavy and clumsy without the powered systems that normally helped them move. Chris gave the signal and his team opened fire with regular rifles. For the first time since the invasion began, human bullets actually hurt Zephyrian soldiers. The aliens were still tough, but without their advanced armor working properly, they could be defeated. The success in Denver was reported immediately to General Webb and other resistance leaders around the world. For the first time in months, humans had found a way to fight back effectively. The jamming devices were not perfect and they only worked for short periods before burning out. But they proved that alien technology could be defeated. Orders went out to every hidden base to start building more jammers as quickly as possible. Major Susan Carter was running a special operations unit that focused on gathering intelligence about alien activities. She had been a spy before the invasion and knew how to move around without being seen. Susan realized that the aliens had patterns in their behavior that could be predicted and used against them. They were very logical and always did things the same way, which made them easier to fool than they thought. Susan's team started spreading false information that would confuse the aliens and make them waste time and resources. They would plant fake reports about human resistance bases in areas where there were no humans at all. The aliens would send large forces to attack empty buildings while real human bases remained safe. It was a dangerous game, but it kept the aliens off balance and gave resistance fighters more time to prepare. Dr. Ben Rodriguez was working in a different laboratory, trying to solve another problem with alien technology. The Zephyrian shields that protected their soldiers and vehicles were incredibly strong against high-powered weapons like missiles and tank guns. But Ben discovered that the shields were designed to stop sudden high-energy attacks. They were not good at handling steady low-power pressure applied over a long time. Ben started experimenting with modified industrial equipment that could produce steady vibrations at specific frequencies. When he tested these devices against pieces of alien shield technology, he found that the shields would eventually overload and shut down. It took several minutes of constant pressure, but it worked. Human forces could use these vibration weapons to slowly wear down alien defenses. The breakthrough discoveries were shared with resistance cells all over the world through secret communication networks. Lieutenant Mike Johnson's unit in Australia started using modified mining equipment to create the vibration weapons that Ben had discovered. They found that the steady low-frequency sound waves could disable alien vehicles and even make Zephyrian soldiers sick and confused. In the Amazon rainforest, Captain Laura Santos was working with local guides who knew the jungle better than anyone. The aliens had tried to establish bases in the jungle, but they found it almost impossible to use their advanced technology in the thick vegetation. Their sensors could not see through the dense plant life, and their vehicles got stuck in mud and quicksand. Laura realized that the jungle itself was a weapon against the technologically dependent aliens. She trained groups of local fighters to use the environment against alien patrols. They would lead aliens into swamps where their heavy armor would make them sink. They would use vines and branches to tangle up alien equipment. The aliens became frustrated and scared of the jungle because their technology could not help them there. Back in the hidden labs, Dr. Kevin Hayes made another important discovery. The alien power cells that ran their equipment were incredibly efficient, but they had safety systems built into them. These safety systems were designed to prevent the power cells from exploding if they were damaged. But Kevin found ways to modify captured power cells to remove the safety systems and turn them into powerful bombs. The first test of a modified alien power cell was conducted in a safe underground chamber. The explosion was much bigger than anyone expected, and the entire mountain shook. Kevin realized that humans now had access to explosives that were far more powerful than anything they had built before. A single modified power cell could destroy an entire alien base. All across the world, human resistance fighters were learning to turn alien technology against its creators. They were modifying captured weapons to work with human equipment. They were using alien communication systems to spy on Zephyrian military plans. Most importantly, they were learning that the aliens were not as smart and adaptable as they had seemed. The Zephyrians had conquered 17 worlds by using superior technology and brute force. They had never faced an enemy that could learn and adapt and improvise like humans could. Every time the aliens thought they had humans figured out, the resistance would try something new and unexpected. The war was turning into a contest between alien technology and human creativity, and creativity was starting to win. Commander Vexithara was receiving reports that worried him more each day. His forces were taking casualties for the first time since the invasion began. Human attacks were becoming more sophisticated and harder to predict. Equipment that had never failed before was breaking down in strange ways. The humans were learning to fight in ways that Zephyrian military training had never prepared for. The alien ships came down from space like falling stars, but they did not burn up. They landed in major cities around the world and started taking over everything. Commander Vexithara was in charge of the invasion, and he thought it would be easy. His soldiers were 8 feet tall and wore armor that could stop any human weapon. They had plasma guns that could melt through steel and shields that made them almost impossible to hurt. The Zephyrian High Council had sent detailed reports about humans back to their home world. The reports said humans were weak and primitive, with simple technology. Their bodies were small and soft compared to Zephyrian warriors. Their weapons were crude, and their military was scattered across many different countries that did not work together well. High Counselor Zarmoth read these reports and decided that standard invasion tactics would be enough. General Marcus Webb was at the Pentagon when the aliens landed in Washington. He watched through bulletproof windows as the huge alien ship settled down on the National Mall. Alien soldiers came out of the ship and started setting up some kind of base. General Webb had fought in 3 wars but had never seen anything like this. He knew that normal military tactics would not work against these invaders. The first battles went exactly as the aliens expected. Human tanks fired their biggest guns at Zephyrian soldiers, but the shots bounced off their armor. Human soldiers with rifles might as well have been throwing rocks. The alien plasma weapons cut through human armor like paper and destroyed vehicles with single shots. Within hours, the aliens had taken control of every major military base and government building in the world. Lieutenant Colonel Nina Foster was at Fort Bragg when the aliens attacked. She saw her best soldiers try everything they had against one alien warrior, and nothing worked. The alien just stood there and let them shoot until they ran out of ammunition. Then he fired once with his plasma gun and destroyed their entire position. Nina realized that fighting the aliens in open battle was suicide, but she also knew that giving up was not an option. Dr. Kevin Hayes was working in a secret laboratory under the Rocky Mountains when news of the invasion reached him. His job was to study new weapons, and he immediately started looking at the videos of alien technology. What he saw both scared and excited him. The alien weapons were incredibly advanced, but they seemed to follow the same basic rules of physics that human technology used. That meant there might be ways to fight back. The aliens set up their government very quickly. Governor Kethvar was put in charge of Earth, and he moved into the White House after forcing the president to leave. The alien governor was surprised by how easily humans gave up their leaders. On other worlds there had been more resistance, but humans seemed to accept defeat without much fighting. He sent reports back to the Zephyrian Empire saying that Earth would be fully controlled within a few months. But Governor Kethvar did not understand what was really happening. While most human governments surrendered publicly, military leaders like General Webb and Nina Foster were already making secret plans. They moved their best people and equipment to hidden bases underground or in remote areas where aliens had not looked yet. They knew they could not win in direct combat, so they would have to find other ways to fight. Staff Sergeant Amy Rodriguez was leading a small group of soldiers through the ruins of Chicago when she got her first good look at alien technology, up close. A Zephyrian patrol had stopped to rest, and she watched them through binoculars from a safe distance. She noticed that their armor had joints at the knees and elbows that looked different from the rest. She also saw that their weapons had some kind of power pack attached to their belts. Amy was a smart soldier who had grown up in a tough neighborhood. She knew that every strong thing had weak points if you looked hard enough. She studied the aliens for 3 hours and made notes about everything she saw. When the patrol moved on, she took her information back to her commander and suggested they try to capture one alien to learn more about their equipment. The idea of capturing a Zephyrian warrior seemed impossible at first. They were bigger and stronger than humans, and their armor protected them from bullets. But Amy had an idea based on what she had observed. The aliens were very confident and did not expect any real resistance from humans. They often traveled in small groups and did not seem to worry about being attacked. Dr. Angela Torres was working with a team of scientists in a hidden base in Nevada. They were trying to understand how alien technology worked by studying broken pieces of equipment found at battle sites. What they discovered was both encouraging and frustrating. The alien technology was incredibly advanced, but it was also very complex. The aliens seemed to rely completely on their machines working perfectly and had not planned for them to be damaged or modified. Meanwhile, ordinary people all over the world were finding ways to resist that the aliens had not expected. When the aliens cut power to major cities, humans started using generators and solar panels and even bicycle-powered lights. When food shipments were stopped, hidden networks of farmers and truck drivers found ways to get supplies to hungry families. The aliens had expected humans to panic and beg for help, but instead they just adapted and kept going. Captain Tony Lewis had been an engineer in the Navy before the invasion. He was hiding in an underground base in Virginia with a team of other technical experts. They had managed to get their hands on a damaged alien drone that had crashed during the first battle. Tony took the drone apart piece by piece and studied how it worked. What he found gave him the first real hope since the invasion began. The alien drone used a very advanced computer system, but it was designed to work perfectly all the time. There were no backup systems or ways to recover if something went wrong. Tony realized that if they could find a way to disrupt the alien computers, their weapons and armor might stop working. He started experimenting with different ways to create interference that might confuse alien technology. The breakthrough came when Tony tried using a modified radar transmitter to send random signals at the drone. The drone's systems became confused and it started flying in circles before crashing into a wall. Tony and his team looked at each other with excitement. They had found a weakness in alien technology that might let humans fight back. The question now was whether they could build enough jamming devices to make a difference in the war. All across the world, humans were learning that their enemy was not as invincible as they seemed. The aliens were powerful, but they had never fought an enemy that refused to give up. They had never dealt with people who could adapt and improvise and find new ways to survive. The real war was just beginning, and humans were starting to discover that being stubborn and creative might be better weapons than guns and bombs. Admiral Lisa Carter stood in the command center of the hidden base beneath the Rocky Mountains, looking at the most ambitious military plan in human history. The wall screens showed detailed information about every Zephyrian ship in Earth orbit and every alien installation on the planet. After 10 months of desperate fighting, human forces had learned enough about their enemy to attempt something that seemed impossible. They were going to attack the alien home fleet directly. The plan required perfect coordination between hundreds of resistance cells around the world. Every captured alien ship that humans had managed to repair would be used in the assault along with conventional Earth vessels that had been modified with new weapons based on alien technology. Captain Jake Morrison had been chosen to lead the first wave of attacks in a hybrid ship that combined human engineering with Zephyrian systems. Dr. Kevin Hayes and his team had worked for weeks to prepare the special weapons that would be used in the battle. The EMP devices that had proven so effective against alien equipment on the ground had been scaled up and installed on human ships. Each vessel also carried modified alien power cores that could be turned into devastating weapons. If the battle went badly, The humans were prepared to sacrifice everything to win this fight. The attack began at dawn, when human forces launched simultaneous strikes against every remaining Zephyrian installation on Earth. General Marcus Webb coordinated the ground assault, while Admiral Carter managed the space battle from her underground command center. The aliens had never faced an attack this large and coordinated from humans, and their response was confused and disorganized. Captain Jake Morrison's ship was the first to engage the alien home fleet in orbit above Earth. The hybrid vessel moved, with a combination of human unpredictability and alien speed that confused the Zephyrian defense systems. Jake had learned to fly using instinct and creativity rather than computer assistance, skills that allowed him to outmaneuver automated alien weapons that could not adapt to his irregular flight patterns. The space battle lasted 18 hours and became the most intense fighting of the entire war. Human pilots who had trained in Earth's chaotic airspace and learned to survive months of desperate combat proved that determination and skill could overcome superior technology. They flew their ships in ways that alien computers could not predict or counter, turning the battle into a contest of pilot ability rather than ship specifications. On the ground, the coordinated assault was achieving objectives that had seemed impossible just months earlier. Major Paul Anderson's strike teams were using intelligence gathered by Colonel Jennifer Martinez to hit alien command posts at exactly the right moments. The aliens found themselves fighting enemies who knew their plans in advance and could counter every move before it was made. The turning point in the battle came when Dr. Mary Jackson's modified power core weapons were used against the main Zephyrian command ship. The explosion was visible from the surface of Earth and sent shock waves through both fleets. For the first time since the invasion began, a major alien vessel had been completely destroyed by human forces. The psychological impact on both sides was enormous. Commander Vexathera watched his fleet being torn apart by an enemy that should not have been able to threaten them. Human ships were outmaneuvered and outgunned, but they kept fighting with a determination that made no logical sense. Every time he destroyed a human vessel, two more would appear to take its place. The humans were willing to sacrifice anything to win, and that willingness was more powerful than any weapon the Zephyrians possessed. The most shocking moment of the battle came when Governor Kethvar's personal transport was captured by human forces during a failed evacuation attempt. The governor had been trying to escape to a backup command center when Major Susan Carter's special operations team intercepted his ship. For the first time in the war, humans had captured a high-ranking Zephyrian official alive. Under interrogation, Governor Kethvar revealed information that changed the entire course of the war. The Zephyrian Empire was not the vast galactic civilization that they claimed to be. They controlled only a few dozen star systems and maintained power through intimidation and the fear of their advanced technology. Most of their conquests had surrendered after minimal resistance, making Earth the first real war they had fought in generations. Even more importantly, the governor revealed that the Zephyrian military was stretched thin across their territory and could not afford to send reinforcements to Earth. The fleet currently in orbit was all they could spare for the invasion. If humans could defeat this force, the aliens would have no choice but to retreat or face the collapse of their entire empire. High Counselor Zarmoth faced the most difficult decision in Zephyrian history when he received reports of the failed evacuation and the capture of Governor Kethvar. He could call for more ships from other systems, but that would leave those worlds defenseless and might encourage rebellion among other conquered species. The alternative was to negotiate with the humans and admit that the mighty Zephyrian Empire had been defeated by a primitive species. The decision was made easier when Dr. Angela Torres used her knowledge of Zephyrian psychology to send a message directly to the alien High Council. She explained that humans had learned the truth about the Empire's limited resources and would share this information with other conquered worlds if the war continued. The threat of galaxy-wide rebellion against Zephyrian rule was more dangerous than losing one planet. Admiral Carter received the alien request for peace negotiations with mixed feelings. Part of her wanted to continue fighting until every alien ship was destroyed, but she knew that diplomacy might achieve more than continued warfare. The negotiations were conducted through quantum communication links with representatives from both species, meeting in neutral space aboard a captured alien vessel. The peace treaty that emerged from these negotiations was unlike anything in galactic history. Instead of the usual terms of surrender, the agreement established Earth as an equal partner with the Zephyrian Empire in a new galactic alliance. Humans would share their discoveries about adapting alien technology, while the Zephyrians would provide access to advanced scientific knowledge and star travel capabilities. The war officially ended when the last Zephyrian combat forces left Earth orbit and were replaced by joint exploration vessels crewed by both species. Captain Jake Morrison was given command of one of these ships with a mixed crew of humans and aliens working together. The same technology that had been used for destruction was now being used to explore new worlds and make new discoveries. The years that followed, other alien civilizations learned about the war between humans and Zephyrians through official diplomatic channels and secret intelligence networks. The news that the Zephyrian Empire could be defeated spread quickly among conquered species and led to several successful independence movements. The galaxy began to change as species that had lived under alien domination for generations began to believe that freedom was possible. Earth became the first member of a new type of galactic government based on cooperation and mutual respect, rather than conquest and intimidation. The humans, who had been dismissed as weak and primitive, had proven that determination, creativity, and the refusal to give up could overcome any advantage in technology or physical strength. The galaxy would never again underestimate the species that had turned their greatest weakness into their greatest strength.